This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by The Eye Collector, available at comic stores everywhere.
Attention, citizens! It's time for Super Pulp Science!
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm Jim B. Kamichuk, your host. Joining me today is my co-conspirator on The Eye Collector, Dr. Jonathan Ball, and also Eric at Four Color Fantasies, the comics heart of Virginia.
Winchester, Virginia.
Winchester, Virginia. There you have it. So for those of you who are regular listeners, dear listeners, if you happen to go to Toronto and then you head south all the way through New York State, then Pennsylvania, into Virginia, almost directly in line with Toronto, you will find Winchester and you will find Four Color Fantasies.
That is true, because I went to Toronto when I was 20. So that was 22 years ago now. And it was a pretty straight shot.
Pretty straight shot. I want you to know something, Eric. I've been watching you in the classic eye collector fashion. I have been my baleful gaze has been on you for a long time, and this is why I wanted to arrange this very specific podcast episode, because Jonathan and I sent out a message to 2,500 comic stores about the eye collector. And the first person to get back with a cogent request was you.
Huh.
And you are the only comic store I follow on social media.
Oh, hey, thank you.
And the pure chance of those two events, I thought I had to reach out in a more long form way to just say a couple of things. Dear listeners, if you don't know about Four Color Fantasies, here's what I know about them solely from Eric's work on social media. They support charities in their community. They do all kinds of outreach for creators. They do weekly update videos of all the books that are in, out, or available that week, including damages, letting people know immediately if something is dinged up and they had to reorder it. They also, if I would be so bold, are one of the few shops that I feel care a lot about the reading experience. Eric, you don't know this, but I have bought books because your hand has hovered over them and said, actually, if you guys are not checking this out, you should check out this book. This is a good one. You have changed some of my reading habits as a result of your reading habits. And I just felt like it would be insincere for us to simply do a social media video saying, buy your book at Four Color, when really I owed you more than that.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad to listen, we love comics here, and I love whenever anybody tries out something new. So to get to that, we read every number one every week. So Tuesday night, we do the video, we pull. What I do is I go through, I pull every number one, then I pull all the stuff I don't keep, then I pull the stuff I keep. And so, I've read every number one before New Comic Book Day, because that way, if you go, hey, what's this about? I can tell you what it's about. And then I read a bunch of stuff I don't keep because I may not be enjoying, I don't know, Batman or whatever, but I can tell you what's going on in Batman. And that's something I got from the owner, Mike, because Mike reads one of every single comic that we get in and has for the last 39 years.
Wait, back that up. He reads every comic?
Every comic. Even if we get one, we might get one copy of a book for one customer, and Mike will read it, because if somebody goes, hey, what's going on in Gold Digger? He can go, oh yeah, here's what's going on. And, Mike's a 60-year-old man. He might not enjoy My Little Pony, but he can tell you what's going on in it. And that's been built into all of us that work here, because in my opinion, if you go to a shop, they should know what they're talking about.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I might not be able to, like I said, there are plenty of comics I don't like. There's more comics that I love, but I can tell you the good about any comic. I can say, well, it's not for me, but you might like this part of it.
You don't maybe, I don't want to step over this as lightly as you has presented it. Without being too hyperbolic about it, you may have read more number one comics than anyone up until today.
I mean, Mike, I would say definitely yes. But I mean, I've been back full time since 2017, and I've read every number one every week since then. And I was helping out for 2 years before that, 2 or 3 years before that, and reading every number one on Tuesdays. So
That that warms my comics heart. Now, dear listeners, some of you know, and if this is your first episode, some of you don't know that in my misspent youth, I used to own a comic shop. Technically, two of them, but not at the same time. We closed one and opened the other. And one of the things I could never manage to keep up with was reading everything that was in the store. I find that so incredible. And so honestly, that's community service, is what that really is, right? Because the readers that come in, they don't share your tastes all the time. So you have to know what's happening in the book.
yeah.
That's so amazing. Now, Jonathan is, we're going to out him right now. We just found out before the recording, dear listener, that in the business, we call people like you, Jonathan, occasionally deadbeats. And that's a person who lets
Yes.
their books pile up inside the slot week after week until you wonder, will we ever see that person again? And then they arrive with their clinking gold coins and they think that makes up for it. Jonathan, why would you be such a monster? You write about monsters. Why do you have to be one?
Because they keep putting their stores in the middle of nowhere and on the edge of town. You know what I mean? Like, I've gone through a few comic book stores because of the same issue, which is that I make a pull list and then I tell them what I want on the pull list. And then I keep emailing them, hey, add this, delete this, add this, delete this. And then the second a store starts, so, the second store gives me any pushback, oh, maybe you should create an online account or whatever. I just drop them and I go to another store. So the store I'm at is great.
I want you to tell Jonathan he's wrong.
No,
I'll play devil's advocate here for Jonathan. Everyone's on a different schedule. I have customers that are here every week. I have customers that are here multiple times a week. I have customers that come in quarterly. Just my thing is let us know.
I offer to prepay for them all. Here's my card. Take it the second they come in.
Tell me what you want. Like, nothing honestly drives me crazier that I'm not a psychic. I can't know what you want. But if you tell me, hey, I want this, hey, I'd like to drop this, or even like the way we do a poll is if you're getting Batman, we're going to assume you're going to want the Batman name, but we're never going to force you to buy it. Because you might just go, like I have a customer who loves Spider-Man, but he only wants to read Amazing Spider-Man. Doesn't want the tie-ins, doesn't want the annuals. That's all he wants. And that's great. The worst you can tell me is no. Now, if you order some, $500 book, I'd rather you not stick me with that. But if I want you to have nice things, and if you can give me a clear, coherent way to let me know what nice things you want, I will get them.
One of the things I thought would be interesting for us to talk about is the role in which the actual store plays in how a comic is ordered. One of the things that you, of course, know, Eric, but our listeners might not know, is that when you're soliciting a comic story, doesn't matter which publisher it's from, the first customer of that story is the store and not the reader of the comic book.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss previews big time because I used to love I'd go through previews page by page. And if it sounded cool, we'd order it. And on the flip side, nothing's worse than bad promo copy. Like there's plenty of books I read the first sentence and go, anyway. But then I would always come back when we were doing FOC or when I would do the official orderings for the store and go, okay, let me read this whole paragraph this time. But I mean, for us, yeah, I mean, we know Batman's gonna sell, we know Spider-Man's gonna sell, but like I love weird stuff and I always have, and I've been spoiled because Mike has always ordered the weird stuff. So, when I was a kid, I could get Milk and Cheese and John the Homicidal Maniac off the shelf. And I'm trying to continue that. And I know, and Mike, Mike's still the owner. Mike and I work on ordering together. And we'll both, so when we do FOC together, we'll go through and go, well, this sounds really weird, but I think it's going to be cool.
The only comic store in town.
What about Mike's World?
Not much to see, though. Unless you're Mike.
Can you talk a little bit about what you think makes for good promo copy versus bad promo copy?
I I don't know. There, it's some intangible. Because there are some books that like I'll read the promo copy and okay, well maybe that's good, and then I read the actual book and go, oh my god, this is amazing. I wish they could have sold it to me, but it's not easy to write that elevator pitch. So I don't know. It's some sort of intangible, and also my brain is just fried. So I'm sure just sometimes my brain's not working, and something might just not grab.
And for weird books, so as you say, you like books that are weird or interesting or different. I think those are the books that are the hardest to write that copy for. And so I wonder, like, for the eye collector, with when it kind of grabs your interest, what in the copy grabs your interest,
Oh, that's
if you remember?
we're doing science now, Eric. We're doing science.
I mean, eye collector. I loved the art. When I first saw the preview images, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks bizarre and weird." And then I read the PDF that you guys sent, and I was like, "I really love this." I don't know how to describe it to people other than say, "Do you like weird stuff?"
What we
Yeah.
were saying over at the We Talk Comics podcast was that what I'm hoping for is people will know that we're up to something, but they won't necessarily know what it is until they read the book. That's kind of the feeling we're hoping to get. It means the world to me, though, Eric, that somebody who is in the business of seeing work in and out every day, that it stood out in that way. So,
Yeah, you see so much, Gregory came up with this great tagline for the series, which is "Seeing is believing." And I really one, of course, is great on theme for the eye collector, but also, like, I really do feel it's a book where you kinda have to look at it and to kinda understand what's going on. And maybe you won't understand everything that's going on, but I think the vibe and the feel and the sort of sense of it is it's hard to put into words on purpose, which is why it's a comic. And so you have that sort of challenge, though, from our end of things, like when we're trying to market a thing and make it sound cool to stores, make it exciting for readers, find a way to talk about it in the press, and so on. I think it's a big challenge for a lot of creators. Like, I have some marketing background and experience, and it's hard for me. And I can't imagine, like, somebody who's, not schooled in that kind of stuff, what it'd be like for them.
we we sometimes, well, here's a couple of things that the dear listener already knows, but maybe people who will follow it now because we're talking to you don't know, is that we do a fair number of conventions and we've had preview copies of the Eye Collector with us there. And often when someone asks us what's it about, we pick it up and put it in their hands first before we explain anything. We just say, well, take a look at it. And
Yeah.
then, so some people open it and go, oh no, not for me. And other people open it and go, okay, I don't need to know what it's about. I'll take this.
Yeah. I mean, like John said, seeing is believing. That's for sure. It's definitely a book that I'm going to hand sell. Uh, and I already have a couple customers in mind of like, hey, you like unique, weird, cool stuff. Check this out. And a lot of times number ones too, I'll say, take it home, read it, or pick it up. If you absolutely hate it, bring it back. Swap it out for something else. Um, and
Hey, Jonathan, I have an idea of which I did not run past Jonathan before you said this, Eric. So we're going to sideswipe him together. We would like to, I would like to make Jonathan partner with me in doing a buyback program with Four Color Fantasies. So
And
if you give out number ones and people say no, then please pass those costs back to us because we would love it even if people saw it and hate it, because we always say love it or hate it, feel something.
yeah,
And so we will gleefully pay for a stack of bad reviews.
the other thing with the eye collector, which is maybe unusual for a comic, is you might, hate the first issue and love the second issue. It's such a strange book, and it just gets stranger. And I think there's a strength and a weakness to that, but it is a book that, when you start to see like further issues coming down the pipe, I think you'll see it's really trying to each issue is trying to be its own thing, even though it's a continuing story. And so we kind of wanted it to be a series where you could jump on wherever you wanted. My joke about it is if you read issue 4 and nothing else, and another friend has read all the issues, it may not make more sense to him. So don't be afraid to come on late,
Yeah. I always, I mean, for new readers, I always say, does it look cool? Try it out. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
neat. And for me as a reader, the worst thing I can say about comics is if I finish an issue, go, I don't care what happened. But I mean, with the Eye Collector, I read that PDF and I was like, okay, give me number 2. I would like to know what's coming. So
Yeah. With the Eye Collector, you may not know what happened, but you'll care what happened.
there you go.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Now, on this topic, since you're the tastemaker in the room, I asked for the dear listener who knows that we often just jump into our own conversations on this show without preparing too much. Our guest, we did not throw to the lions quite that way. I asked Eric to uh, make a short list of books that he has enjoyed: horror, fantasy, science fiction, and then we would be able to discuss whether our book is like that, not like that, a little bit like that, not at all like that. It would be a signpost that we could go by. So that unlike reviews that go, if you're a fan of this, you will be a fan of the Eye Collector. We may have the opposite. If you're a fan of this book, please do not buy the Eye Collector. So, what are the books that have stood out for you in recent years, sir?
Let me see. So I made a list because I didn't want to be going the whole time. Let's see. Current books that are coming out. Sci-fi. My favorite book right now is Free Planet. That's just cool, dense sci-fi. Um, and it's just every issue demands your attention. It's like a meal. It takes me a little bit to read each one. There's a lot of graphs, a lot of talking, a lot of words.
Crafts and talking. Tell me more.
It's Aubrey Sitterson writing it, and I love everything Aubrey does. And Jed Dougherty on art, and Jed's just incredible. He's like Art Adams meets Ed McGuinness,
Oh, yeah.
and the layouts are incredible. I think he was an assistant for Howard Chaykin, so he's got that kind of layout vibe. What else is coming up? I love Ice Cream Man.
That's my favorite comic right now.
It'll make your soul hurt. Sometimes. Let's see what else I got here. It's funny. I wrote down comics that aren't really coming out right now.
No, but that's okay because people have pull boxes, they've got long boxes, they've got all kinds of ways to find cool stuff.
You know what? The first one I wrote was Severed, by Scott Snyder and something. It was from when Scott Snyder was first blowing up with Batman. He did this horror book for Image called Severed, and it's one of the most genuinely creepy books I've ever read. It's about a kid during like the Dust Bowl era, and he all he knows is his dad was a musician who left, and so him and a friend go jumping the rails to try to find the dad, and then they meet this old man who may or may not eat children. Uh, and it goes from there. That one's awesome. Sync by John Lees and Alex Cormack. Uh, Again, John's a guy that I'll read anything he does.
Because Sync, who's the publisher there, Sync?
Comics Tribe.
That is Trunks Tribe, yeah. Yeah. So did your shop order those through the Kickstarter or how did you get a hold of Sync?
I wasn't working full time. I backed it because I really liked, and then Emily was gone. I really liked, and then Emily was gone, and I met John at Heroes Con, and he sent me the issue I was missing, and then I was like, well, I'm going to follow this guy with him. And so I backed the first issue of Sync and loved it. And then when it came out through Diamond, I was like, Mike, we got to order this. It's so good. That's one. Hunger and Dusk is a fantasy book that I love. It's by G. Willow Wilson and Chris Wildgoose.
I do not know that book. Say it again.
Hunger and Dusk.
Hunger and Dusk.
So they did a 6-issue arc, and then they put out like an issue or two of the next arc, and now it's gonna be one of the ones they finish and trade, which drives me insane.
Okay, talked about that. Wait, don't leap over that moment. What happens if people don't like the Eye Collector all that much is that Image Comics will likely tell us to jump to a trade so that the book market and the shops that might have slept on 12 issues will do it. But you're saying,
Oh, see, I don't mind trades. I love trade. I have too many trades that are in a boxes in my brother's garage right now until I can build a shed at our new house. But it like they did this with Supergirl during the pandemic and I think Inferior 5 by Lemire and Giffen. They'll put out a couple issues and then they're like, we'll just finish it in trade. And so then you have all these singles, and then to finish the run, you just have a trade. And that drives me nuts. I would rather have the option of finishing in singles. Um, so I don't mind. Like, I mean, listen, if you do 6 issues and then you go to trade, great. But it's just it's frustrating as a OCD collector to have, oh, here's 3 issues and then this big honking book right in the middle.
I just don't understand why you keep encouraging this comic book thing.
I like to have singles and the trade.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's, but it's just, I
Well,
feel
I
like
can tell you
there's
that
something about getting the thing every month and something about having the issue as a unit that to me, it just reads different. And the
uh,
trade does. So I like both experiences.
I love serialized storytelling. So like I love the weekly, fix. But there are some books I prefer in trade. There's some books I've only ever read collected. Like Transmetropolitan. I only had, trade because by the time I got into it, it was too hard to find singles. And then there's books that I have in singles and trade and hardcover and absolute just because I obsess. Uh,
do you find well, so I have this habit of whatever the format is that I collected it in. So I often get stuff as singles. And then as soon as the trade comes out, I give the singles away.
yeah, no, I know people. I have a friend who does that too. And
And
I've done some things like, so my girlfriend and I moved into a house a year ago and I was finally getting my comics into her. And I was going through and going, okay, I have this in 3 formats. Do I care enough to have it in multiple? Do I only want to keep it in this one? Do I not want any of them? So I was making those cuts and going, okay, well, I've got it in trade. I can get rid of these things. And I'm definitely more of a giveaway rather than sell person, much to my girlfriend's chagrin. Um, and then we just moved again. We bought a house. So now I have to build a shed and I'm sure there'll be more cuts as I'm going along.
Erica, I will appreciate this story. When I moved into the house I'm in now, a number of my friends, as often is the case, you summon your friends like a flock of Valkyries to come and help you move your things. And my buddy Andy, if you're listening to this, you know I love you. But he came to my house and he said, "You know what, Gregory, I love you, and I think a good friend, everyone is entitled to 3 moves in a lifetime. That your friends should show up. If they're really your friends, 3 times you can call on them." He said, "Until I had to move all your fucking books. You've used it up, Gregory. You've used it up."
My best friend Brent, I will have to send him this so he can hear it. Eh, I moved a lot in my 20s, and I think Brent helped me move every single time, and I just have more books and more comics every time. And he helped us move into the last house, and he was like, "Never again. I'm never helping you again." And then this time he's like, "When you moving, I'm busy." And then of course he showed up anyway to help. So,
They do that, don't they? The good ones, they do show up anyway. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. As a person who sees people come day in and day out, like you've been talking about the people who love comics, and I think that they fit into a few different categories. There are people who speculate on issues and they pick up things because they think their collection will have a certain value. And then there are people who will just read wildly. They're just readers. They want to try stuff. They're into the serial. They're not putting it in a bag and board. They're just getting rid of it when it's done. And then there's like kind of this hybrid market that's forming now where like really interesting collected editions that they didn't print too many of. I'm looking at you, Romnibus, things like that. Um, what do you see on the front lines now? Because it's been a while since I've been where you're standing. Uh, how people are engaging with the medium in general. What are some observations you would make?
I mean, it's all of those still are there. There's no wrong way to collect. Like we've built a community of like, you should read these. You should read them and enjoy them. And so that's what most of our readers are. And you get the people that are like, oh, let me get 3 copies because this will be worth something. Um,
Do you ever
actually,
talk them out of it?
the only people I try to talk out of it are the people that go, hey, what's something that's going to be a good investment? And I go, get a savings account.
Yeah. I always say to people when they're talking about, working on their Instagram to try to get, their numbers up and everything. I just say, take all that time, work at McDonald's and just buy meta stock if you
Yeah.
think Instagram's so great.
Yeah. Like I love collecting. I love having like, oh hey, this is a kind of rare thing. But it's more I love the stories. Like every year we always talk about it. Like the new Overstreet would come out and we get it in. And everyone that works here, we go through and go, oh hey, I own this. It's worth $100 now. That's cool. Are you gonna sell it? No. Um, and so I have I have customers who sell stuff on eBay, and that's, if they can get a deal with us and sell it for $20, great. We had it for $4. We had probably $2 in it. We made our money. Do what you want to, but also we're never gonna like Absolute Batman, as a perfect example. We ordered high on it because we were like, let's take a chance. We think it's gonna be good. And we sold out in about a week. And then we had a couple people say, oh no, thanks. So then we had them in the back issues and we were like, well, it's going for $100 online. Let's put 25 on. That's fair. It's been a couple months and it sold immediately. And people are like, this is going for this online. Okay, cool. You want to do the job and sell it on eBay? Go for it. Every comic I sell, I really hope people go home and read because that's what I love to do. I've been shopping here since I was 11. And like, those are some of my favorite memories is my mom driving me here, picking up my comics, reading them on the ride home, reading them again when I got home. Because comics are the best. And I, I don't know, for me, outside of having to grade and sell comics here, I don't care what comics are worth.
You and I have that in common. Maybe I knew this about you somehow this whole time.
Like I love my collection. I have a lot of comics, but like my plan is to read them. I go back and reread them all the time. So does Mike. Mike's right now, God, Mike's collection is 4 or 5 times bigger than mine. But he's rereading his Fantastic Four run right now. And he started, I think, a little bit before the John Byrne stuff, and he just got to the Matt Fraction stuff. So the
Oh, wow.
comics for the week, and then he reads his older comics. He reread Avengers, he reread Detective, and he's got his list. Mike's got his list of like, hey, I want to reread this next, and it might be a 12-issue miniseries or something. But that's for me, the enjoyment is reading them. And sometimes I want to go back and reread them. Like Preacher's my favorite comic, and I've read that I don't know how many times. I read one.
Yeah, I love that comic.
Yeah. I say Preacher is when people say, I want a good love story. Sometimes people ask me, like, what's a good love story in comics? I recommend Preacher. I say it's one of the purest love stories in comics. It is not a very pure comic, but it's one of the purest love stories in comics.
Lisa from Comic Book Couples Counseling, we were talking that one time. She said, "Well, what do who's your favorite couple?" I'm like, "Oh, Jesse and Tula."
Oh,
She's like, "I don't know, I just don't want to read Preacher." I'm like, "You're missing out." It's
Yeah.
good.
yeah. Like,
My-
I gotta reread the Preacher.
My left arm's all Preacher covers tattoos, so
Oh wow.
amazing.
I'm borderline obsessed.
What got you so you say you used to go to this store and then you kind of started working there. Was that a pretty clean path for you? Or did you do something in between?
So the shop's been open since 1987. Um, I've been shopping here since 1995. I still have the first single issue I bought here. I still have the first back issue I bought here. And I fell hard and got super into it. And then my oldest brother's friend worked here. And so, I'm sure you owned a shop. Like I'm sure every kid that came in, oh, you hired? You hired? You hired?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every week I'd ask Mike and Patrick, the guy my brother's friends with, hey, can I get a job that, I'm 14? And then I'm like, hey, I turned 16, in a couple months. And my only other job before that was working at a farm market. Uh, and I spent all my paycheck here at the shop. And so I kept on asking, hey,
Wow.
hiring. And so a month before I turned 16, I got a job here after school and I worked for Store Credit. And, my friends are like, why don't you want money? I'm like, guys, what else do I spend my money on? I buy,
Putting your money on. Yeah.
like, I don't really buy, at the time, I didn't buy a lot of CDs or anything. But like working for Store Credit at a comic shop, the best,
That's a teenage dream.
Being a small business owner was never my passion. It was my plan B.
Do you feel like the industry still caters to people like you? Or do you think they've lost their sight on people like you. Because I always complain about the book industry, which I'm part of. My complaint about the wider book industry, not comics so much, but the wider book industry is, I'm a guy who spends, thousands of dollars a year on books.
Yeah.
And nobody tries to sell me books. They try to sell books to people who don't read.
Yeah, I would say the comics industry has expanded. You're always gonna have your Wednesday Warriors. But like it's it's kind of similar to when I worked here in high school, but also it's better because when I worked here in 2000, we had 3 female customers, and now we have it's a mix of everybody. Guy, gal, trans, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, like everybody. And I love it because it used to be just a lot of guys that looked like me, a lot of white guys with glasses.
Comics are for everybody.
Yeah. And I love it. Like, there's a comic out there for everybody. And, it's some things aren't better. Like my assistant manager is Angie, and she's awesome. She knows everything about comics. She's great. But there are still people that'll go, is Eric here? Like, and or when she first started, they would call and she'd answer the phone and they go, look, and I thought, Eric, can you add this to my list? And I finally had to go, hey, she works here too. And she knows what she's talking. But I would say, you have to try to bring in new readers for sure. But I think that happens naturally on its own.
But
I
in
think
comics, my contention is when they're good, new readers come.
Yeah. To Jonathan's point, I would say maybe it is the comics industry could do a little more to sell comics to those Wednesday Warriors that maybe they don't usually read. But then I also think that's my job is to say, well, hey, you've been reading Avengers. Why don't you try this weird book, Mighty W? Why don't you try this weird Image book? And I'll try.
I'm reminded of my old store days. Your story about the customer who only buys Spider-Man. I had a customer who only bought Superman. He claimed to have every copy of Superman ever printed. Whether that was true or not, you know what it's like with comics.
Yeah.
They all claim, but whether it was true or not, this was his contention. He only ever wanted to have Superman, and that's all he wanted. But I would always try to suggest to him cool books that were coming along because sometimes Superman was pretty hit or miss in those days.
Yeah.
And so one day I stopped. I was like, maybe, he has said no, he's been firm. He has set his boundary. I will just respect the man's boundary. And he came to pick up his Superman and he said, so what? You no books to recommend? And I said, well, you're not picking up any books, so I'm just trying to respect your boundary. He's like, I just haven't heard the one that's better than Superman, but you just keep trying, man.
There you go. And one customer, he's a buddy of mine, Sean. And if you ask Sean, his favorite comic is X-Men. He's a Claremont X-Men guy. He's not currently reading X-Men. And he'll go through phases where he'll go, hey, you know what? I'm gonna try these. I'm gonna get my toe again. I'm gonna try Cap. I'm gonna try Avengers. I'm gonna try X-Men. And then I'll go, yeah, I'm not really digging it. You know what? I'll do JSA. I'll do Superman. I'll do Batman. Oh man, I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm not really digging it. So right now he's reading Flash Gordon and Conan, and something else. He's like, right now I'm digging the indie stuff. But I love it that Sean's always willing to try. Because I might go, hey man, you haven't read FF in a while, but this current issue is pretty good, And sometimes he'll try it, sometimes he won't. But again, that's the job. Is you got to keep trying.
Do you have any trades? Do you have any trades that you guys order that you always order in for those reluctant to try new things people? Like I can win him to a different genre with this book.
It used to be Sandman.
Yeah.
Maybe not lately. What can't we keep in right?
See, in my day, it was Planetary.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That if I wanted to get people who were really into Big Two comics to like skew indie, my lead-in title was Planetary. But similarly to Sandman, a little bit problematic to suggest these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I know there's books that like we can't keep on the shelf. You know what? Over the last year, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
Oh, what a book.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those we have sold.
What a book.
Love Patrick. I think he's the coolest guy. I love that book so much. And that's one of those books that, again, like when I was ordering, I was like, this sounds fun. And I ordered, I think, 10 and 5 of A and B. And then Diamond did what Diamond does, and all we got was cover B. And Angie and I both read it that night. And the next day we got to work and we are like, we didn't get enough of these. And we were playing catch up the entire series. But then, I mean, we were ordering the trades 5 at a time because it literally put one out and somebody go, hey, what's a cool book? This, gone. Okay, put two. Hey, what's this, gone.
Because it defies, that book in particular, defies your expectation twice.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it's a horror book beneath the trees where nobody sees. Oh, that sounds cool. Then you see the art and you go, oh, that's crazy. How can it be so cute and so terrible? Then you open it up and it's like purely frightening.
Yeah.
And then you read it and it's another, like, it can't be as well written as it is well drawn.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And God, that's one of those books that the last mini every issue, you'd read it the next week, you talk to somebody, go, did you read the new issue? And they go, my God, like it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, like now I'm doing but I can't think of any of it right now. You know what? One that I hand sell all day is Sixth Gun. Cullen Bunn, Brian Hurt, that book. That's one I missed when it was coming out. And then I met Brian at Heroes Con and he had the big fancy hardcover. And I was like, I'm on vacation. I'll buy a big fancy hardcover. And I read the entire thing in the hotel that night. And I was like, well, shit, this is the new favorite. And I think when it was coming out, we had maybe one subscriber for the whole series. And then, I mean, the trades now, somebody goes, hey, what's a fun book? Hey, try first trade's $10. Give it a shot. And they immediately go and buy theirs. Sunstone. Sunstone's another one. That's one you my pitch for that one, I always say, you show up for the lesbian bondage, but you stay for the love story. And
So I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. It's
I've learned to trust your hesitation recommendations from Instagram.
it's erotica, but it's amazing and it's beautiful and heartbreaking at times. And again, if I sell the first trade, I can almost guarantee somebody's going to come back and buy the rest.
Now, do you have anyone from the community there who's got, their own printed book they maybe only make 20 of that they brought in for you to sell at the shop?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I love indie books. We have a local creator, Hobbs Holland, and he does a comic called Fuzz Bouquet, which is like the best Jim Henson dark fantasy movie that never came out in the 80s. And it's about a little goblin guy who all he wants to do is make cheese and he can't afford it. So he becomes a knight to finance his cheese making operation. And it's all traditional art. It's hand drawn, airbrushed, hand colored. It's beautiful. And Hobbs is amazing. He was a customer and he had come in a couple times and then he was like, hey, do you sell in, local creators? I got this comic. I don't know if you'd like it or not. I was like, yeah, bring it, man. Bring it on in. And we can't keep them on the shelf. We keep them on the shelf constantly. We do not pull them because somebody's going to pick them up.
Now, because you definitely need more things to do in your day.
Yeah.
As many do, that Dark Horse Comics, the publisher started more or less like you're describing with just some books that they thought, maybe someone should give this a wider chance. Have you ever thought of sponsoring some of those little indie guys?
I mean, I'll back a Kickstarter. And we have another local creator, Brandon Blocksdorf. He owns Apollo City Comics, and they're punk, anti-establishment, anti-capitalism, pro-LGBT, pro-420. I'm trying to think of everything that's on their shirt. But Brandon is a hustler, and he is constantly making comics. And he was a writer, but now he's dipping his toe into drawing. He released a book called "This Comic Kills Fascists." And
I know about that book.
yeah. So Angie, who works here, drew one of the stories with Brandon's girlfriend Lex. And what else do we got? There's a couple local creators, and if somebody brings something to me, as long as it's not Comicsgate, I will sell.
That's right. Yeah.
And what was the other one? Oh no, so there's a kid named John who worked here in high school, and he just graduated from the Kubert School. And I'm hoping he'll do something because I've literally known him since he was a child. and I just want to support everything he does. So John's a good kid and an amazing artist. So if anybody needs a cool artist that draws really weird monsters, John Renner, find him on Instagram. He's awesome.
Those are really good.
You know, I was an illustrator for about 5 minutes.
Think you could teach me to draw like that?
When you are going through somebody's collection, this is what. So Jonathan and I had this conversation recently about, we were talking. All three of us here were just talking about the benefit of the trades, the singles, how that works, and I said that my fantasy is 10 years from now, somebody will buy a comics collection in a long box and they'll find a couple of issues of the Eye Collector in it. And they will say, what the hell is this? Because like the singles have they're ghosts that haunt the long boxes and let you know about books that exist. I became a lifelong addict hunting down old Valiant comics because of some Valiants that were in a long box somewhere. And my lifelong obsession with Magnus the Robot Hunter began because of a 25-cent Magnus the Robot Hunter.
Yeah, man. So when I was a kid, Mike used to always have, there was the quarter boxes. And whenever you bought something, there would be a quarter book in the back. So I had so much random weird stuff that I had an issue here, an issue there. There's a comic I only have one issue of called Pineapple Man. That's weird. And it's a guy it's some Hawaiian god that takes him over and his head looks like a pineapple and he's fighting the colonizers. And I looked it up a couple years ago and apparently it was huge in Hawaii and the guy claims it sold more than X-Men #1. But it's such a weird book that I'm never going to get rid of because I got it in a random quarter box or bag. But I love that stuff. We do our summer sale and we just have long boxes out on the back lawn. And I love finding weird, random stuff there. I found a whole bunch of lethargic lads out there. What's the one weird? There's a indie book called Hey Mister that I love by Pete Sickman Garner. And it's just weird, not, black and white indie stuff, but give me that stuff all day.
Back in my misspent youth, we had there was a grocery store chain called Apple Valley Groceries here in Winnipeg. And I wouldn't have known this. I wouldn't have known any of this at the time, but now I understand contextually what was happening. The black and white comics explosion had ended. And all those distributors that were trying to get rid of the glut of books were selling them by the pound. And one of the companies that bought up just huge amounts of these comics was Apple Valley Groceries. And why this is important is the same way that you might have apples piled up at a grocery store. They had indie comics just in a huge bin pile that were 50 cents each. And my friend, and these were like books that should not be in little kids' hands. The majority of them were from that black and white comics explosion. So we're talking about like Evil Ernie showing up, and people just the greatest thing was that parents didn't know better because they thought they understood what comics were. And you would just see kid after kid with stacks of books that are going to change their life, including my life got changed by that. And do you remember the DC book Wasteland?
Yeah, well, I've got a full run.
Okay, so I first found out about Wasteland as a kid buying that at Apple Valley Groceries. And the first thing I thought was, I should not be allowed to have this book.
Yeah. When I got into comics, I didn't like superheroes when I was as a kid, I would always get my comics at the gas station, the grocery store. And it was whatever was there. So I had a Spider-Man, a Morbius, X-Factor, a Savage Dragon, whatever. Whatever I could get, I would just want. When I started shopping here, I was like, oh, so I'm 12. I'm too cool for superheroes. I like Spawn, and then I got really into Vertigo. And when I got my first subscription box for my 13th birthday, I subscribed to Spawn, Curse of Spawn, Creature, and Slacker, which is one of my favorite comics by Doug Slade. And the first issue of Preacher that I was going to pick up was issue 27, and Tulip is topless in it. And Mike was like, I got to show it to your mom. I have to get her permission to sell it to you. And my mom's looking there. She's like, oh God, I don't know about this. And I'm like, Mom, I'm 13. I'll be fine. And she's like, we'll think about it. So the next week she's like, you know what? Just don't tell me about it. Okay. And And then I was good to go. And then it was just whatever vertigo I could get my hands on. But she knew if I was reading comics, I wasn't out like terrorizing the neighborhood. So
I've described Jonathan before as, well, us both, as the last detritus of gas station spinner rack comics buyers. Like there just isn't that experience doesn't exist for people, but getting those random books like can change you forever. And I wonder if the subscription model, unbroken collection model that comic stores have uh, is hurting like the acquiring of new readers, do you think? Or is your 25-cent sales doing the trick?
I mean, it can, I think, because you'll get a lot of younger readers in, and they'll go, "Oh, hey, like, do you have, I don't know, X-Men or Battle Beast or whatever comic is hot right now?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't have number one." They're like, "Oh, I really want to start from number one." And I always or parents will bring kids in. I tell them like, "Try it out. If it looks cool, try it out. You'll figure it out." Readers are smart. Uh, is it great to read from issue one? Of course. And it's easier these days with reprints and trades and things. And I have noticed kids being more willing to jump in um at issue 8, issue 10, whatever. Um the older readers sometimes are tough to get because, well, I gotta have them number one. I can't.
Really? I find that astounding.
And kids I think are more willing to go with it at the moment. Especially with like the absolute stuff. Like they've been hearing about it. Um, I have a lot of customers who are teachers, and so we'll get a kid in. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Lancaster told me about this place. Mr. New component at this place," and I'll tell the customers, "Hey, this kid came in," and they're like, "Yeah, most of the kids now watch YouTube videos or TikTok or Instagram of somebody explaining everything that happens in the comic, and so they feel caught up, so they can jump right in." And I'm just glad they're actually reading them rather than just watching videos of somebody telling them about them. And, but yeah, I would say definitely the younger kids are more willing to give it a go.
Kids love comics. My kids, they were reading these 2 comics. They had gone to the library, these graphic novels, and I was, like, flipping through them, and I couldn't stand the one, and I was asking them, like, "Hey, which one of these books is better?" They're like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, which one do you like better?" They're like, "Well, why would you like one better?" And I was like, "Well, what do you like about it?" I said, "What about this one? What do you like about this one?" And they said, "Well, it's a comic." And I thought there's just something so, pure about that. They just like the comics, the medium, like later on they'll make those distinctions a bit more finely, but there's an enthusiasm there that I think, is really important, especially for kids, younger kids. But, as they continue to get older and so on, one of the big problems you have is that they stop reading.
Yeah.
And if anything can keep a kid engaged, whether it's, whatever it is, whatever genre it is, whatever, publishers putting it out, it just seems like there's comics have a really important place in just literacy in that primal, basic way.
This is a good time to put Jonathan on the spot, which is he likes Ice Cream Man and you like Ice Cream Man,
My
Eric.
favorite comic right now is Ice Cream Man.
So, Jonathan, for the listeners who are wondering about the Eye Collector, how is it like Ice Cream Man and how is it not like Ice Cream Man?
Well, I'll tell you how it's exactly like Ice Cream Man is that the main character is the monster. And every issue is, whether he's on the page or not, it's all swirling around in the monster's point of view. Even if it's another character's point of view, it's the monster is also able to have that point of view on certain levels. Because, of course, the eye collector collects points of view. He's all about, one of the things that he says at one point is, he is sorry, he feels sad for humans because they are trapped in one point of view. And so Ice Cream Man is, I think, one thing I found really inspiring about the Ice Cream Man series, uh, just overall is, I don't know that timeline wise it necessarily made its way in Eye Collector exactly, but because we were done most of it by the time Ice Cream Man was in my head. But I really think a similarity between the books is one that has got a surreal horror aspect to it. Two, it's got a metafictional play at times, and 3, that monster is really the focal thing that continues. So you might, jump from the moon to Earth. You might jump from, this claustrophobic story with these children to, boom, 20 years later they're adults. Uh, and those really jagged, jarring jumps in the story, which might otherwise be very extremist, I think are sort of sutured by the eye collector. The eye collector has an agelessness and he has his ability to move. And if we continue the story and do the 13th issue, it'll be the eye collector that's kind of pulling things ahead into another world.
Hey, look, it's Mike from Mike's World. Going on a business sale here, Mike?
You mentioned buying Curse of the Spawn and things. I really liked a lot, and it was very inspired by Spawn. Uh, Not so much. Love Spawn, but what really inspired me about Spawn and also my other favorite comic of all time, Grendel, is that they weren't afraid to just have another Spawn or have another Grendel. And now, Spawn is in the medieval age. Now Spawn's a Western. I don't think we're really doing that kind of thing with the eye collector, but we could because the eye collector can just move around. He can do whatever he wants. And I like that flexibility.
Yeah. Something, again, controversy noted. Something that it never dawned on me until I was watching an interview with Garth Ennis talking about Sandman, and kind of when Preacher started, he's like, what he liked about Sandman was you could tell any story you wanted and it could fit, you could just put it under that umbrella. And that's kind of
Right.
what he pointed out with Preacher was like, he wanted to tell these weird, purely American stories. And he could do that with this story, and Ice Cream Man and hopefully the Eye Collector as well and Spawn. Like, I like that point of view that you had. Like, I want to tell this kind of story and I know I can fit it under this umbrella and not, shoehorn it either. Like that umbrella is large.
Yes. Yeah. What I think is so great about Ice Cream Man is he's willing to do anything and he will do anything, but it's still an Ice Cream Man story. There's still a really clear vocal way that it works. And he's got certain tones, certain themes. He's got a level of progression in terms of what we're learning about the Ice Cream Man and what it is and how it might be. Um, but you're not losing the mystery of what the thing is. And it has I like the anthology structure. We're not doing an anthology comic, but some issues sort of have that vibe, where it's like there's a cohesion, although that is a continuing story. Whereas I think Ice Cream Man has I love the fact that you can just pick up any issue and it's complete in itself and you can grab the older stuff. You can, there's all sorts of really fun things he's doing, but on a simpler level, that guy is a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what he does with Archie.
One question for Eric, as a person on the front line, have we made a critical error making our book 12 issues long?
No, I don't think so. I think if you've got a story to tell, take whatever length you need. And I would rather, trying to think, I'd rather be left wanting more than, but not in a bad way. I like if you've got a 12-issue story to tell, I want those 12 issues. I don't. I would hate for you to be like, we're going to do it in 12, and then you go, never mind, we're doing it in 3.
Well, yeah, our big mistake is that we made all 12 first and then we released them. And we didn't know, just for your dear listener standpoint, at the beginning, we had no idea that we could be an Image comic. So the fact that we became an Image comic and that they selected us and liked it and are supporting the book in this way is a shock to us, because the prevailing wisdom right now is doing miniseries, right? And
Well,
it's contrary to that. And I think, though, I'm hoping that our story is propulsive enough and interesting enough that people will come along for the ride. But it's already finished, so even if you don't like it, we're finishing anyway.
I mean, here's the thing. I hate that this is now a selling point these days, that I can go, hey guys, it's not going to be late.
Yeah.
it's not going to be late. We got it done. Yeah.
The one thing, there's only one thing we can guarantee. No, we can't guarantee you'll like it, but we can guarantee that it will not be late. Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
Unless the presses catch on fire because it's so hot. You know,
Just running so many
or the ice cream man steals the delivery truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it won't be late. And I would say though there is not to disagree with you, Gregory, but at one point I had talked to you about how many issues should this thing be, and I talked to some other people, and of course, the prevailing wisdom you brought up was like, do 3 issues, do a new arc. And I just, I'm not saying it's bad advice, but I don't know. I like 5 issues, like Shakespeare. I like, like there's a single shot, there's a 5 issue arc, there's a 6 issue arc, but they're all 112 issue arc. I wanted it to be very modular, because as you're saying, we didn't know who was going to put it out or how. And we also just had the idea that, I just wanted it to work the way I want it to work on a certain levels, and at the end of the day, like, I just think it has to be what it is. I'm always saying this to Gregory and just in general when I
Or what
advise
is it?
writers.
Yeah.
You need to make a thing more of what it is and less of what it isn't. And if it ends up being, a 12 issue series that nobody wants to publish, then, so be it.
And a couple of our issues are oversized as a
Mhm.
result of the story. Just in order, because horror is about pace, you can't rush it all the time. And so we a couple of different times said, "Damn the torpedoes!" We didn't raise the price on the issue, but we did raise the page count on the issue for the sake of the story and the pace of that story. So
I love that. Like, the story is what it is. And I would rather, I want to read what you guys have to say at the fullest that you can do it. If you're like, this issue needs to be 30 pages, 28 pages, whatever. It needs to be 23. I need that one extra page. Great. I want to read that. I don't want to read the issue and go, man, I love that. And then the creators go, God, we only had that one extra page. you know?
And we know those books. You hear about them later, right? You hear about them later that they had to drop a page for the ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. So painful. So we had the honor of not having to do that. Whether or not it makes good retail sense, I guess we're going to find out later. Um, so dear listeners, we have come to the end of our journey with Eric at Four Color. Which began as serendipity, which is why we have brought you onto the show. When coincidence strikes, I feel it's important to follow up. The Eye Collector does not believe in coincidence, and so neither do we. And so, since you're the first person to reach out to us as a creator, and you are the only shop that I follow on Instagram, I felt like it was only fitting that we reach out and talk to the front lines at Four Color Fantasies in Virginia.
Again, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was cool. Unexpected. So thank you.
Well, what would be fun, Eric, is maybe around issue 6, we should check in with you and you can tell us what people are saying.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And then at issue 12, if you don't call us back, we'll know why.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm just so busy right now.
That's right. Oh, sorry, guys. A little too busy. All right. Well, this has been Super Pulp Science. This is Jim B. Kamichuk encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.